It's meme time, it's meme time. Gather all your friends, it's meme time. It's meme time, it's meme time. The only cure for sadness.
The cage, revealed to be attached to a crane outside, is now outside the facility, dangling over the crowd by the door. The Marines outside call out to Smoker and Tashigi, terrified that everyone was captured. The soldiers begin begging for their lives, and Smoker tells Tashigi to tell them about Virgo. The situation is such that even Luffy admits that they have a problem. Overlooking the destroyed lab building, Frankie commends the lab and how well built it is, with Robin remarking how the rubble would be a good source of raw materials. Law tells Luffy that they cannot be bothered right now. The current plan is to act on the old one, only to do it right this time. Law then declares that they are going to fight back. In the new world, a broker is left stunned at how Caesar Clown was able to capture the Shichibukai Trafalgar Law, the captain of the once again active Straw Hat Pirates, the devil child Nico Robin, and the great Vice Admiral Smoker. Also watching the broadcast, Killer tries to point them out to Eustace Kid, only for his captain to comment in an amused manner about Luffy's return. He then tells Killer that watching is meaningless, and how he does not think Killer ought to work as a broker anyway. Kid also mentions he is surprised about how Law was planning something all along, having believed he had become a government dog. Asking if the people had arrived yet, Killer tells him they have and that he was surprised they came at all. Before entering the room, Killer reminds Kid to be friendly, causing the captain to become irritated and tells Killer to shut up. Opening the door, it is revealed that inside are Scratchman Apu and Basil Hawkins. Apu, standing amongst a wrecked room and over one of Kid's badly beaten subordinates, tells Kid that it feels nostalgic for him to see his ugly face. Kid instantly becomes enraged, asking what gave him the right to trash someone's hideout. Apu replies that when he gets invited by the enemy, he comes expecting a fight, and that he had suspected there might be a sniper somewhere. As the two challenge each other, Hawkins declares how foolish the meeting is, and that he is leaving. Killer asks him to wait as he steps between Kid and Apu, reminding them that the three crews came together to try and form an alliance, and asks that they at least try to discuss it. On Punk Hazard, Luffy is curious about Law's idea. Below their cage, the Marines continue to panic about the oncoming gas and call out to their superiors to help them. Asking if anyone in the cage can burn things, Luffy tells Law that Frankie can, mentioning he can even shoot a laser beam. Replying that he requires both his hands to use his radical beam, Frankie instead tells them that he can only use Ku Babu right now. Law asks him to burn the battleship, which he does so immediately using Frankie Fireball. From inside, Caesar watches this and wonders what they are doing, calling them desperate while commenting on their corpses being useful later. Outside, the smoke from the burning ship begins to surround the cage, obscuring the view of any onlookers. Taking his chance, Law removes his chains, explaining that they needed the smokescreen to hide the fact that they are escaping. Luffy asks how Law could take off sea stone chains so easily, only for Law to continue explaining and mention that they were normal chains that he put in the lab so he could escape in case he was captured. Law then cuts the pirates free and wonders aloud what he should do with Smoker and Tashigi as he puts them back in their own bodies. Tashigi realizes that her breasts are exposed and tries to hide them with her knees, begging Law to let her out of the chains. Law tells Smoker he has no reason to save him, but if Virgo loses his position due to Smoker returning alive, that would be good. He tells Smoker he will only free him on the condition that he forget everything he learned about him and Joker. On a balcony below the cage, Luffy calls out to Law about how they can get inside. Surprised, Law worriedly asks how Luffy broke out, with Frankie telling him the mesh is not made of sea stone. Yelling at Luffy to not do anything on his own, they then escape the cage. Meanwhile, Roronoa Zoro, Sanji, Brook, and Kin Iman are seen still barely outrunning the approaching gas. Commenting on the comedic way they are running, Kin Iman notes that it is not helping them. Sanji begins to then trail behind due to Nami's body being at its limit, and instinctively clutches his hurting chest, only to grab onto Nami's breast. Realizing this, Sanji is immediately invigorated and shoots ahead of the group, catches up with the dragon and captures it. Nearby, Nami and Usopp are riding on Brownbeard, with Nami apologizing to him for making him carry them in his injured state. Still concerned about the children, she can only hope that they had not eaten the candy yet. Reassuring her that it is not a big deal, Brownbeard states that he has to save his men anyway. They then notice a running figure in the distance, realizing it was the dragon outrunning the gas with several people holding onto it. In front of the lab, the Marines are relieved to see one of the shutters to the lab opening, while inside Caesar's subordinates are panicking due to the shutter opening, asking who had pulled the lever. Someone points up and the subordinates see Luffy, Robin, Law, Tashigi, and Smoker standing over them, a pile of defeated minions under their feet. Tashigi is happy to see everyone inside safely, while Law wonders where his heart might be. Luffy remarks how interesting things are getting, and Smoker voices his reluctance about cooperating. Outside of the lab, Brownbeard, with the dragon now attached to his tail and Zoro, Brook, Sanji, and Kinemon clinging to the dragon, is running toward the now closing shutter. Zoro asks Kinemon if he can cut iron and the samurai replies that it is no problem. Zoro then tells Brownbeard to keep running. The two swordsmen cut down the door and Brownbeard barrels through, all of them landing in a heap. Everyone inside is terrified now that the gas can get in the lab, while Luffy is happy to see that everyone is in one place again and orders everyone to start fighting back. They soon realize that Shinokuni will be able to enter the lab in such conditions, prompting the G5 Marines to frantically seal the hole back up with various wooden and metal planks. They succeed in sealing the hole up as Shinokuni proceeds to spread throughout the island. Brook uses the power of his devil fruit to become a soul and survey the area outside of the lab, noting that it was like the land of the dead and one step outside would kill you. After regaining their senses, the G5 Marines then turn their guns and swords towards the Straw Hats, preparing to arrest them. Nami notices Law and demands that he switch herself and Sanji back to normal, to which Sanji secretly refuses. Law agrees to return them to their original bodies, using shambles to switch their hearts back. Nami notices that she originally had a different coat on and immediately punches Sanji, accusing him for peeping at her body. Law then explains to everyone present that they only have 2 hours to escape, and then continues by saying the only passage that leads safely out of the island is called R66 and is found in Building R. The Marines are initially reluctant, but quickly change their minds when Smoker repeats the order to them. Smoker then orders Tashigi to take command of the men and rescue the children as he goes to confront Virgo. Meanwhile, Caesar Clown is celebrating the deaths of his victims, but notices that the cage has no solidified bodies, which he needs to prove the power of Shinokuni. He also notices the absence of the G5 Marines outside of the lab. Virgo concludes that Luffy and the others must have broken out of the cage and helped the G5 soldiers escape. Before Luffy goes to fight Caesar again, Zoro calls out to Luffy and reminds him that this is just the beginning of the new world and he must not let his guard down again, to which Luffy happily complies as he plows through the Satyr soldiers using Gomu Gomu no UFO. Caesar Clown then receives the news that the Straw Hats and Marines have broken into the lab, leaving him alarmed and shocked at their escape, but his subordinate says that they are probably planning to escape through the internal exit. Chopper, seizing the opportunity, ducks out of the room and runs down the hall, saying that he found out how the drug was made and that he found a sedative. As Chopper wonders where to go, Monet seems to notice his departure but does not react. Caesar, meanwhile, asks where his men are and is told that most of them are in Building B, getting ready to fight. Caesar hatches a plan to block the passage between buildings A and B, isolating A, then destroying the wall, letting Shinokuni in and killing them all. Caesar's subordinates panics, saying that some of their men are still in the building, but Caesar does not care. He also tells his subordinate to place a Den Mushi near the event so that he can show the brokers the effectiveness of the weapon. Virgo tells Caesar that if Smoker and Law escape, he will also be in trouble. Because of this, he plans to take out the group himself. Virgo wonders where his sword is, but Monet tells him that he is not a swordsman. Virgo, remembering this, heads out. Inside Building A, Luffy encounters the guard to Building B, Machete Run and promptly defeats him with a Gear 2 enhanced kick. As Luffy fights his way through the guards, he notices a large metal door between buildings A and B closing. Smoker, having just arrived, notices the beeping and asks Law what it means. Law tells him that the doors are starting to close and that Caesar is looking to trap them in Building A. Near the front of the building, the G5 Marines stand in front of the Straw Hat Pirates, Kinemon and Brownbeard. Having no patience for this, Brook, Zoro, and Kinemon hack their way through and are followed by the rest of the group and Vegapunk's dragon. The Marines continue their assault, but Zoro attacks back, only to be blocked by Tashigi. Tashigi tells the Marines that this is not the time to fight, and that they should focus on getting to the next building. Seeing the door starting to close, the Marines pick up the pace, carrying the wounded as they go. Caesar's troops notice Brownbeard carrying the Straw Hats and wonder if he betrayed them as everyone rushes to escape the building. Outside the lab, a cannon is fired that blows apart the wall of Building A, allowing the poisonous gas to seep in. The Straw Hats barely escape with their lives and Tashigi is thrown in by her own troops. Tashigi tries to run back, but the gate is already closing, leaving some Marines petrified by the gas. However, these Marines pose in stances encouraging their allies to keep going. Caesar, seeing that they have survived, states that he will not let anyone escape. The Straw Hats and Kinemon are all escaping on Brownbeard, who is complaining about having to carry all of them, saying they should run unless they are injured. The riders give petty excuses as to why they cannot run, and Brownbeard does not believe any of them. Close behind them, Tashigi is still saddened by the loss of some of her troops and in shock about how all the activity going on under the Marines' noses, but a soldier tells her they have to keep moving, and she agrees. The soldiers next notices something coming from the roof. They then turn and run as the dragon that came in with the pirates breathes a large amount of fire down on them. The soldiers wonder what it is, and Tashigi tells them she heard rumors about there being dragons on Punk Hazard. She explains that Vegapunk made the dragons artificially to serve as guards of the facility. The dragon darts from wall to wall, descending on the Marines and dodging their bullets. It opens its jaws right in front of one of the soldiers who dives for cover at the last second, sending the dragon's head into the pipes on the wall. The dragon then turns its head around to show it eating the metal from the pipes. The Marines in front of Tashigi start cheering, saying reinforcements have arrived. Virgo has entered the passage from the other side. The soldiers are overjoyed to see their commanding officer and ask if headquarters was informed of the situation and about the size of the reinforcement party. Tashigi is the only one not celebrating. Tashigi can barely make enough sound to tell them to run before multiple soldiers fall in front of Virgo. As a Marine falls over, Virgo's index finger is shown with fresh blood dripping from it. A soldier asks Virgo why he is attacking, saying that even as a form of punishment, using Shigen will kill them. Tashigi remembers when she and Smoker were first transferred to the G5 base. Virgo was telling them how the soldiers are rowdy and not too bright, but were overall good people. In between flashes of Virgo taking out more troops, Tashigi remembers a soldier telling her about how Virgo sometimes leaves suddenly to go home and care for his sick sister. She also remembers talking to him about a kidnapping case where Virgo told her it was a false claim, and that the parents were in denial and overreacting about the death of their child, saying that the idea of kidnapping gives them hope that their child is still alive, saying Tashigi would understand when she became a parent. Back to the present, Tashigi charges at Virgo with her sword. Virgo blocks the sword with his arm and then grabs her by the head. He then delivers a devastating close-range punch that knocks her to the ground and almost unconscious. A soldier yells at Virgo, calling him an imposter, saying the real Vice Admiral Virgo would never do this. The remaining soldiers all gang up and attack Virgo, but Virgo annihilates all of them, so he is the only one left standing. Tashigi, in her mind, prays for Smoker's help. Virgo then hears someone and a person is seen bounding around the corridor. Before Virgo can react, Sanji delivers a flaming kick to Virgo's head. The soldiers that are still conscious are surprised to see one of the pirates. Sanji said he heard the sound of a woman in trouble and came to help. Back with Brownbeard and his passengers, Usopp asks why Sanji left so suddenly. Zoro tells him he felt an unfamiliar presence. Brook and Kin Amon look up and see the dragon from earlier. Nami notes that it looks different. Something about its eyes are strange. Brownbeard exclaims that the sedatives have worn off and it is no longer docile. The scene changes to Luffy and Smoker, who are heading to Caesar's lab, taking the shortest route. Inside the lab, Caesar is watching the events unfold, irritated that Virgo took out his test subjects. He orders Monet to block the passage B gate and let the gas in. She tells him that Virgo is still there. Clown says he does not care. Smoker and Luffy arrive at the door to the lab, Luffy out of breath from running. They both tell each other not to interfere. Luffy is fighting Caesar and Smoker is fighting Virgo. Smoker rings the doorbell and the door opens, revealing only Caesar in the lab. Luffy delivers a blindingly fast and powerful punch to Caesar's stomach, saying he will not get away this time. As Caesar reels from the punch, Smoker remembers that before Law freed him, he ordered Smoker not to touch Caesar since he still has his heart. Smoker leaves to go find Virgo. As Luffy begins the second round of their battle, Caesar demands to know why Luffy is trying to capture him, which he explains is part of Law's plan. Caesar admonishes him, warning Law cannot be trusted, but Luffy retorts that's for him to decide. The two fight with Luffy landing a few solid hits. Caesar tries to suck the oxygen out of him, but Luffy manages to get out of range of the powers and attack from a distance. Caesar reveals he has other methods of attack, such as a flaming sword. Luffy manages to avoid him and prepares to finish him with a jet gatling. However, Monet uses some kind of power to make a wall and protect Caesar. On her suggestion, Caesar abandons the battle and leaves to try to locate Law, though promises he has a way to make guinea pigs out of Luffy and his friends. Luffy tries to go after him, but Monet gets in his way, claiming Joker. Doflamingo will kill her if something happens to Caesar, prompting Luffy to question Doflamingo's motivations. At the passage connecting the A and B buildings, Sanji and Virgo begin fighting, with Sanji landing a flange strike, sending Virgo hurtling into a wall. Seemingly unfazed by the kick, Virgo prepares for a counter, and Sanji remarks on Virgo hardening like steel. Virgo attacks with one of his left kicks, fracturing Sanji's right leg while Sanji blocks. Virgo attacks with another left kick as Sanji narrowly ducks, avoiding the blow. As the two continue, Sanji yells for the Marines to run away to the B building as the room begins to go into lockdown and the gas is let in from the A building. An emergency broadcast is heard from the D building that Law has invaded the SAD production room, much to the dismay of Caesar and Virgo, with the latter stating this was what Law was after ever since he became a Shichibukai, and that whatever he is planning will make a mess of the new world. Law walks into the SAD production room, looks up at the giant tank, and smiles. Meanwhile, the Marines are crushed that the shutter closed, trapping Sanji and Virgo in with the gas. Someone tries to make an announcement about Law over the PA system, but the Marines are distracted as Sanji has appeared above them carrying 2 unconscious Marine soldiers. Sanji is happy to see Tashigi and tells the other soldiers to shut up, saying he only likes it when girls cheer for him. He takes a step and winces in pain. A Marine asks if he hurt his leg, and Sanji tells him he only takes sympathy from women, but realizes it could have been worse if he had continued fighting Virgo. Sanji asks what happened to Virgo, as he suddenly took off. The Marines say that the man Sanji fought was an imposter, and the real Virgo would never do something like that. They look to Tashigi for confirmation, and she gives an empty agreement. Virgo is inside Block B, moving quickly using Jeppo. He is talking on a baby Den Mushi with someone, telling him that Law is after the Sad and how he has betrayed them. The person on the other end laughs, and the scene changes to Dressrosa, where Doflamingo is laughing, saying that he thought of Law as a little brother and watched over him, calling the whole thing a shame. Doflamingo continues the conversation as a nearby window is destroyed. An angry and visibly upset woman is suddenly in front of him, her left arm a cannon that she is pointing at the Shichibukai. Doflamingo takes no notice and tells Virgo that the first thing he would do if he were Law would be to destroy the Sad production room. An explosion then occurs, completely enveloping Doflamingo. He is seen lying in the rubble, his legs straight up in the air, still talking to Virgo as if nothing happened, saying that he would kidnap, or rather kill Caesar Clown. The man Law and the Straw Hats want to kidnap. This irritates the woman, who attacks Doflamingo with a scythe from her right arm as he dodges by leaning to the left and mentions that Caesar is the only one in the world who knows how to produce sad. A man in a top hat and leather mask sitting nearby pulls out a pistol and casually shoots the woman who is trying to assault Doflamingo, who goes on to say that killing Caesar would be detrimental. A rotund, bearded man wearing sunglasses and a unitard leans over the injured woman, whom he addresses as Baby 5, saying that slaughter that piece of scum where he stands. She angrily says that she will not forgive him this time, and Doflamingo mentions that a series of misfortunes will occur. An old woman playing cards nearby asks Doflamingo what he will do about Law. The old man she is playing with says the choice should be obvious, as Law has turned traitor. Doflamingo orders Virgo to kill Law, with absolutely no mercy, to the point that Law will wish he was never born. He then leans back slightly to dodge an axe from Baby 5. Virgo asks if he should take a photo of Law's body with the camera he bought in Dressrosa. Doflamingo tells him he never bought a camera, and Virgo says he will just cut off an ear as Doflamingo stops Baby 5 with his ability. Doflamingo then addresses Caesar and Monet. He warns them to watch out for Luffy, saying he has Hashoku Haki and his potential might be greater than Law's. He goes on to say that he has a woman with him who is just a little too hot-blooded at the moment, and he is sending Baby 5 and Buffalo over to help them. Lastly, Doflamingo tells them that when they are done with the current situation, they all are returned to Dressrosa immediately. Back in Block B, Kinemon and most of the Straw Hats are riding Brownbeard. Zoro comments how the little dragon is a lot more troublesome than the bigger one he fought earlier. Brownbeard panics, saying that since the whole area is on fire, the tanks full of hazardous chemicals could explode, which would destroy the walls and let the deadly gas in. Kinemon becomes empowered, saying he cannot allow that dragon to exist. Brook then says that he will kill it, saying he cannot forgive the creature, no matter what. He remembered when the dragon was about to bite him, but then turned away looking disappointed. Usopp tells Brook there is no part of him the dragon could eat. Brook angrily fires back that bones have nutritional value too. Brook and Kinemon then get into an argument over who will kill the dragon. While they are arguing, Nami is waving her hands, praying for the dragon to fall for it. Brownbeard asks what she is doing, and Nami tells him she is doing a samurai impression, but Usopp corrects her saying she means ninja. The dragon flies in between 3 clouds and gets electrocuted in Nami's thunder trap. Kinemon is surprised that the breastband lady can use ninjutsu, much to Nami's annoyance. Usopp then uses Green Star Rafflesia, causing the dragon to crash into it and be momentarily stunned. Robin then uses Cuarentoflor Quattro Mano hold to clip the dragon's wings. Kinemon is surprised that the Tengu Usopp and the escort Robin can also use ninjutsu, confusing all of their weapons and abilities for ninja techniques. As the dragon falls, it unleashes a breath of fire down on the group. Kinemon jumps in front of Brook, calling him Sir Corpse, and cuts the flames with his sword. Brook and Kinemon then use Gavotte Bond and Avant and Flaming Slash, respectively, at the same time on the dragon, effectively defeating it. Brook was then momentarily bothered by being called a corpse before remembering he is won. Everyone celebrates their victory as Brook and Kinemon continue to stomp on the unconscious dragon. Brook then asks Kinemon why he hates dragons, saying the samurai acted almost as if it were an act of revenge. Kinemon tells him that revenge is pretty close. They then run after Brownbeard, realizing they were left behind. Nami then points up to a balcony above them. They see Chopper and Monster Point, fending off the giant children. Nearby, in the second-floor checkup room, a guard in a hazmat suit says a little girl is okay to go back to Biscuit's room and have her candy. She then asks where that other kid went, confusing the two men in the room. She says that a kid named Momonosuke went into the forbidden secret room and turned into a small dragon. In the research room, the guard is shocked when hearing that a kid turned into a dragon and asks the little girl where she saw it, and she says she peeked into the secret room and kept it to herself and is now worried for Momonosuke. The guard lies saying he is fine, and that she does not need to worry about him and that he is eating, and tells the little girl she must not tell anyone else what she saw. In Caesar's lab, Luffy asks what Monet is doing and she makes a 10-layer snow hut. Monet passes through the snow huts to see Luffy and asks how does it feel that 10 layers of snow huts cannot be easily broken. Luffy just says she is stalling for time and he will just break it in a jiffy and tells her to stop wasting his time. He says she cannot beat him and she agrees, stating she could not achieve victory in a fight with him, but tells him to not confuse victory with fighting ability. She then hugs him with her wings and Luffy notes how cold she is and her body are like ice and tells her to get off. Monet refuses, stating he can no longer escape her hold and the coldness will sap away his strength, and Luffy begins to become drowsy. She then points out that there is a bunch of snow buildup around them and Luffy should lose consciousness soon and asks if it feels good. She tells him to just close his eyes slowly and relax, but Luffy manages to fight it off and use a jet spear to break free by breaking the ground. As Luffy begins to laugh, he ends up falling down below from destroying the floor. Monet comments on his hidden potential and tells him that falling from their location will have him end up in the ducts and into the garbage can deep inside the earth. She adds that unless he can fly he won't ever get out and just comments to herself about how he just dug his own grave and says her farewells to him. In front of the Biscuits room, Chopper in his Monster Point continues to hold off the children, telling them that he knows it's painful but they must endure it and not take any more candy, knowing that they want to go home. He tells them he won't let them get into the Biscuits room. Chopper accidentally hurts a kid while holding him and he apologizes. However, the other children attack Chopper violently with pipes, calling him a monster and stating that this has nothing to do with him, and they want the candy, stating it is theirs. Chopper tells himself it's no use, stating unless he fights back he can't stop them. As Chopper falls over the kids note an opening and run to the Biscuits room, and Chopper tries to stop them only for the rumble ball to wear off and him turn back to normal. They all rush to the room with the intent to get candy and start trampling Chopper, and he can't move and luckily is saved by Nami as the other Straw Hat Pirates and Kinemon arrive as Nami and Usopp ask what is happening while Chopper starts tearing up Glad They Came, stating that Caesar is trying to make them into big violent fighters and he can't lay a finger on them and says they have to find a way to stop them. As they make their way to the Biscuits room, Robin uses her Millefleur Gigante's Mano and makes giant hands to stop the children. Chopper then tells Nami about the girl, Mocha, who is trying to help him and says she's in danger and is protecting the candy in the room now. Usopp notes this is bad and they won't stop at nothing to get that candy now. The kids say the hands are annoying and start attacking and biting Robin's hands, causing her to let go, stating they are so violent and she can't stop them. The kids see Mocha and tell her to hand over the candy. Mocha, having regained her sanity, tells them to not eat it, saying it's evil candy, telling them to snap out of it, that Chopper is trying to help them. She states if they don't listen, they won't be able to go home, and Chopper says it's useless and tells her to run. She starts running, and the kids tell her to not eat the candy on her own, and then she sees the exit closed with Monetti in the front and asks her to help. Monette tells Mocha she can't keep the candy all to herself and should share with the rest. As Zoro notices her, he asks who she is, and Usopp points out she's the bird woman he saw before. In the sad production room, Law is seen bleeding and breathing heavily, fighting Virgo. He uses shambles to get his heart back, and at the moment he does, Virgo appears in front of him and delivers a powerful kick to the face and sends Law back to the iron bars behind him, and he spits out blood. Virgo catches Law's heart and starts squeezing it, causing Law to scream out in pain. Law manages to stand up with difficulty, and Virgo hardens his arm and starts brutally punching Law over and over again, causing Law's hat to fly off, and Law manages to grab Virgo and use counter shock on him, sending a large electrical surge in his body, but the attack did little damage. Virgo easily recovers and delivers Joker's message of what a shame to Law, and Law just smirks back at Virgo as he had calculated how to retrieve his heart back from Caesar and that Virgo is his only miscalculation. Virgo says Law should call him Virgo-san and retorts to squeezing Law's heart even tighter, causing Law to scream in agony as Virgo tortures him. Virgo then mentions how he's in the middle of something and he just had to show up, referring to Smoker who just arrived, and says it doesn't matter what it takes. He plans to seal Smoker's lips permanently. As Law seems to have lost consciousness, Smoker responds that it'd be better to end things quickly to dispose of Trash looking down on him and calls Virgo Pirate Virgo. The two then prepare to fight. Smoker comments that the room is very disturbing. Virgo tells him not to worry about it. Smoker tells Virgo he is not looking forward to telling the troops about their commanding officer's betrayal, since Virgo is deeply admired by his subordinates. Virgo tells Smoker he will not have to worry about his men. Smoker, angered by this, attacks Virgo with his jitti, asking what he did to the soldiers. Virgo blocks this attack with his bamboo cane. Virgo then teases Smoker for having compassion toward his subordinates, but tells him that since the truth is out, Smoker will have to die. Virgo's cane expands in the middle, and something shoots out of it like a blowgun. The shot causes a huge explosion. Smoker avoided the attack by becoming intangible and tries to attack Virgo from behind. Virgo leans back and narrowly avoids getting hit. He then tries to kick Smoker, but Smoker blocks it with his foot. He swings his cane, but Smoker dodges it and moves around to Virgo's exposed side. Smoker then lands a devastating punch to Virgo's face, sending the Vice Admiral flying back and landing in a heap. Smoker tells Virgo that his tenure with the troops does not matter, because as base captain, Smoker is in charge of them when they leave the base, and challenges Virgo to try and harm any more of his troops. In Building B, Sanji and Tashigi are rushing through, having just gotten to the area the dragon set ablaze. Tashigi is confused by Sanji's behavior and desire to protect her, since they are supposed to be enemies. Sanji tells her that pirates are free spirits open to everyone. As the Marines are complimenting him for stopping the fake Virgo, one of the tanks in the room explodes, damaging the wall and making a hole to allow Shinokuni in. Another tank explodes on the other side of the room, causing the same result. The injured soldiers, as well as the soldiers carrying them, fall victim to the gas. Tashigi cannot believe that it would happen in a room as spacious as the one they are in. Sanji tells her to run as he runs toward the gas. She tries to argue, but Sanji just tells her to go. In a secret room on the second floor of Section R, Caesar Clown is watching these events on a monitor, pleased that the dragon's rampage let the gas in, and satisfied that his demonstration will be a success. He tells a subordinate to close the gates to Sections C and D. When asked by a subordinate about Section R, Caesar tells him the plan is to lead the pirates and soldiers into the corridor and then flood it with gas from C and D, leaving them with nowhere to run. He goes on to say how he does not like the room he is in, but he really had no choice in the matter. There is a huge group of subordinates in front of him, and they ask why he is in Vegapunk's old room, considering the grudge he has against him. One of the subordinates says that Vegapunk is just as much an enemy as the ones outside, since he caused the incident 4 years ago. Caesar tells them they are vital to his forces and does not want any collateral damage, causing all of them to become emotional. He then goes over his plan. Once the shutters to Sections C and D are closed, all areas will be closed off, leaving Section R the only possible path. That way, all his enemies will be in the same place at once. The ventilation shaft in that room is connected to the outside, so letting the gas in will be easy, and will leave them with nowhere to run. Their deaths will then be broadcasted to the brokers. One of his subordinates asks if Caesar created the gas since it looks exactly like the gas from Vegapunk's failed experiment 4 years ago. Caesar begins to shed tears, saying the war going on in science makes his heart ache. He tells them that he tried to stop Vegapunk from doing the experiment, since it would be dangerous for the people on the island. The accident happened anyway, and Vegapunk is still hailed as the best scientist in the world. He asks if it is right for someone who caused so much pain to hold that title. His subordinates are deeply moved. Caesar tells them that he made the gas against his better judgment to prove that he is the best scientist in the world. He ends his diatribe by saying that once he is acknowledged by the Marines, he will be able to use his scientific genius for the good of the world. Moved by his emotional speech, his subordinates begin to cheer. Caesar giggles as he flashes back to what really happened on that day 4 years ago. He was being ordered to cease the experiment, since it would be bad for the people on the island, contradicting what he told his subordinates. Caesar snaps back, saying he is trying to make ways to kill pirates, but the Marines argue that they cannot hurt innocent civilians. Caesar laughs, calling them a necessary sacrifice, saying world peace is the calm that comes after the storm. He then calls Sengoku too soft, and reasons that Akane would want his weapon. He then laughs, saying he heard Vegapunk's human enlargement experiment failed again. He tells the Marines that the only way to do it is to kidnap children who are still growing and put them through various treatments. Later, he is yelling at Vegapunk, asking him what he is doing. Vegapunk tells him that they are relieving Caesar of his post in the research team. His actions have become too reckless. Caesar yells not to mess with him, and slams a button on a console, causing the lab to explode in a huge mushroom cloud. The gates connecting Area B to Areas C and D have now been shut. In the basement, Luffy asks something if it just spoke. Luffy is staring at a dragon and asks what it is. The dragon responds by asking Luffy who he is. The small dragon introduces himself to Luffy as Momonosuke. Luffy thinks that he has heard the name before, but Momonosuke yells at him for drooling. Momonosuke continues, stating that he is not food and would rather eat than be eaten. Luffy grabs Momonosuke's horns, looking for a person stuck to his neck communicating by farts, but soon realizes that Momonosuke, which Luffy thinks is an eel, is the one talking. Momonosuke chides Luffy for drooling, but his own stomach then rumbles. Luffy says that Momonosuke is just as hungry as he is, but the dragon says that a warrior does not go hungry from just 10 days without food. Luffy is stunned that he has been without food for 10 days, and when Momonosuke asks his name, Luffy introduces himself and says that he is going to be the next pirate king. Momonosuke is surprised, as he had thought that pirates were hulking brutes. Unlike Luffy, Momonosuke remarks that Luffy is also an outsider and says that the facility is for diseased children. Momonosuke says that he does not know much about the island and arrived merely when he sneaked onto a boat. Momonosuke says that even though he distanced himself from the other children, they were nice to him, offering him candy. The children met Caesar Clown, and when asked his name, Momonosuke refused to give one. After declining candy for some time, he managed to escape, hungry and exhausted. He found a devil fruit and ate it, but was caught by one of the children. She tells him that they are not allowed to be in that room, but Momonosuke says that he needs to escape the facility. The girl says that they all want to go home, but that being in the biscuit room is not all bad. Suddenly, some of Caesar's men arrive, and the girl runs away. Momonosuke, however, transforms into a dragon before their eyes and to his confusion. He manages to escape, and after he is gone, the soldiers remark that the fruit that Momonosuke ate was Vegapunk's failed artificial devil fruit. To wrap up his story, Momonosuke tells Luffy that he is human. Luffy says that he ate a devil fruit, and asks Momonosuke why he does not simply transform back into a human. Momonosuke is surprised that he can turn back and asks Luffy how to do so. Luffy brushes off this question, saying that he is not a Zoan, and remarks that the hole he fell through is a long way away. Momonosuke says that he also wants to leave since he overheard Caesar saying that all of the children will be dead in 5 years if the experiment continues. Momonosuke continues, saying that he would have warned the children but instead fell into the hole, trapping himself. This infuriates Luffy, who says that he is going to climb the walls along with Momonosuke. The dragon is relieved, but Luffy tells him to get a hold of himself. This makes Momonosuke see a hallucination of Don Queso do Flamingo. This scares the dragon so much that he starts to fly, with Luffy hanging onto him. Meanwhile, in B building, Usopp, Brook, and Kin Iman have broken off from the rest of the group to look for sea stone handcuffs at Robin's request. Brook uses his Yomi Yomi no Mai abilities to look behind walls. Usopp is worried about Nami and the rest of the group because he is not there to protect them. However, he feels that they will be fine because Zoro is with them. In the sad production room in D building, Law looks on while Smoker and Virgo clash. In B building, Tashigi and the G5 Marines are fleeing the poisonous gas with help from Sanji, who is kicking them along. On the 3rd floor of Building B, Monet has created a blizzard with her devil fruit abilities, while Mocha tries to escape from the kids who want their candy. Robin tries to help, but is stabbed by Monet. Zoro steps in, saying that he will handle the enemy because she is a Logia user. As of now, there are 20 minutes left until the gas fills B building completely. Mocha runs off with the candy and she thinks back in a flashback. Mocha and Sind are on a ship going to Punk Hazard. Mocha wants to go back home to her family and she cries, and Sind tries to calm her down, but he cries too. Caesar Clown finds them later and tells them that his own son died from an unknown disease, and he hoped to not see any more children die from that same disease. Mocha is still getting chased by the children who are drugged by the candy, and she is making sure they don't get their hands on the candy. Monet introduced new children to the other children in a flashback. Roronoa Zoro is fighting against Monet while Nami, Robin, and Chopper are going after Mocha and the children. She uses her devil fruit powers to reach the 3 and Zoro blocks her attack from hitting Nami. Monet hopes to finish off the weaker Straw Hats because it is a strategic tactic. Monet blocks the entrance with a snow wall and is about to bite Nami on the arm until Robin prevents that from happening. Zoro opens up a pathway out of the room so that Nami, Robin, and Chopper to get away from Monet. Luffy and Momonosuke are still getting out of the garbage chute until Momonosuke stops and they both fall back down the chute. Caesar Clown is watching Monet fight Zoro and the children chasing after Mocha. He talks about Shinokuni getting inside the facility being an important use. He says that they will be killed soon. Usopp, Kinemon, and Brook are getting chased by the poison gas and are trying to find the sea stone cuffs in Momonosuke. Monet asks Zoro why he is only blocking her attacks instead of attacking her. Sanji and the G5 Marines arrived and Sanji sees Zoro and makes fun of him, and the Marines do the same. Sanji and the Marines see Monet and are admired by her beauty. Monet uses her devil fruit powers and bites off a shoulder of a few Marines, causing them to panic. Tashigi, who had arrived before Monet could attack any more G5 Marines, and used a haki-infused sword cut to harm and stop Monet from attacking her Marines. Tashigi decides to stay with Zoro, reasoning that it seems that she's needed, much to Zoro's chagrin, to fend off Monet together. Sanji assures the G5 men that, while he will not hurt women, Zoro is an entirely different story, and that Tashigi and he will be fine as they continue to look for the children. This boosts the Marines' morale that they will get praised by Tashigi, Nami, and Robin if they accomplish their goal. Meanwhile, Zoro gets mad at Tashigi, claiming that she is getting in his way, but Tashigi claims that, in addition to keep Monette from going after her subordinates, she is staying behind because Zoro will not cut a woman, basing her assertion on their first duel back in Logi Town. Zoro denies it but claims since Tashigi wants to fight Monet, sits down and permits Tashigi to have the battle. Thinking she assumed Zoro's weakness, Monette becomes conceited and attacks Tashigi with a barrage of snow attacks. She eventually manages to wound Tashigi with a bite to the shoulder. However, Tashigi endures it because she knows she will lose her arm if she pulls back. Just when Monet is about to finish her, Zoro cuts Monet on the cheek with Busashoku Haki, causing her to let go of Tashigi. He chides Tashigi for being too slow as he approaches Monet menacingly. Admitting that there are things he would rather not cut, he then asks if she has ever met a wild animal that promises not to bite. Monet realizes he actually is going to attack her, but is paralyzed with fear because of this. Zoro cuts her in half but does not use Haki, thus she survives thanks to her Logia intangibility. He then asks if the two women are satisfied. However, Monet is still too terrified to pull herself back together properly. One half of Monet's body manages to get up and attempts to stab Zoro in the back. Tashigi then intervenes and finishes her off, finally defeating the snow harpy. Mocha runs away with the candy while the children are on hot pursuit. Chopper, Nami, and Robin try to fend off the children, but they manage to break through them, making Mocha leave herself with no choice but to eat the candy. She eats the candy and Chopper watches with a shocked expression. Zoro and Tashigi are running away from the poisonous gas while Tashigi wakes up and admires Zoro's sword known as Shusui, which he got from the samurai known as Raima at Thriller Bark. Chopper walks on over to Mocha to check and see if she is still alive, and Mocha wanted to save her friends, so she sacrificed herself for them. In a flashback, Chopper is holding off the children by closing the door while Mocha is supposed to run away. Mocha hesitates to run off, but Chopper explains the situation to her. Luffy and Momonosuke finally got out of the garbage chute and immediately ran into Caesar's subordinates, who quickly recognize Luffy. Luffy uses Conqueror's Haki to knock most of them out when they were about to attack them, and he asked one of them where Caesar is. As Zoro runs into a corridor that is filling up with Shinokuni, Tashigi tells him he made a wrong turn and decides to go back. Sanji, Robin, Nami, and the G5 Marines sedate the remanding children as Chopper tries to analyze Mocha's condition. Kin Iman is seen running randomly while Brook tries to reason with him, and if he keeps running in that direction, he'll run into the gas. Brownbeard is seen going up some stairs, unable to find his crew in their quarters. As he heads towards Building R, Room R66, Usopp exits the mysterious room and finds the door to Caesar's secret lab. He hears something behind the door, but is unable to open it. Brownbeard later arrives to the first floor of Building R. As Caesar watches him on the monitor, Brownbeard is about to reveal to the soldiers of Punk Hazard about Caesar's true colors. Before he can speak any further, Caesar and his subordinates go down to the first floor to meet him. Upon seeing Caesar, Brownbeard demands him to tell him what happened to his men outside on the island before Shinokuni was released. Caesar merely shrugged and say he did not receive their distress call, when in truth he did received it, but left them to die outside. Angered by the callous disregard of the lives of his men, Brownbeard tried to reveal Caesar's true nature to the rest of the men, protecting their generous master, but Caesar managed to inject a muscle relaxant in Brownbeard, making him spurt out gibberish and unable to stand. Now in control of the situation, Caesar whispered to Brownbeard that the poison gas incident was his doing. Brownbeard then furiously tried to attack Caesar, only to be shot down by the subordinates he swore to save. Feeling victorious, Caesar prepares to finish off Brownbeard when Luffy knocks him away with a giant Haki-infused fist. As Luffy prepares for a third confrontation, Caesar taunts him, telling Luffy that he will be in danger from both the Flamingo and an Emperor if he attacks him. Luffy then punches Caesar in the face, saying that he has been dealing with people like that since he entered the Grand Line. Caesar then tries again to flaunt his protection under Doflamingo in order to intimidate Luffy, and immediately attacks Luffy with an attack called Gas Steel, which is recognized by one of the subordinates, who states that it is capable of melting steel, but Luffy dodges it and delivers another punch to Caesar's face. With 5 minutes left until Shinokuni fills up Building B, the rest of the Straw Hat Pirates, as well as their allies, are hurrying toward Building R, where the escape route off the island is located. Only Kin Iman and Brook are going the opposite direction towards the gas, because Kin Iman had heard that his son had got turned into a dragon and immediately thought that dragon he slew was his son. Brook tries to stop him but gets dragged along instead. Usopp is the first to arrive in Building R while searching for Seastone handcuffs, but ends up in the secret room above the first floor, where the gas trap was prepared. In the sad room, Virgo was berating Smoker for using his smoke form against him, who is more than capable of handling devil fruit users, and uses his haki-imbued bamboo stick to injure Smoker, destroying his duty. However, Smoker was really just distracting Virgo in order to allow Trafalgar Law to regain his heart. With Trafalgar Law's heart back where it belongs, Law is ready to finish his fight. Smoker, who is barely conscious, tells Law to finish it quick because it shames him to be indebted to a pirate. Law then calls out to Joker, who was monitoring the battle with a Den Mushi, and tells him that once Virgo is defeated and Caesar captured, all the sad at his disposal will be gone, and he will lose his position as king of the underground. Doflamingo then laughs, replying that Law's fear of Virgo when he becomes very angry is still there, and that his haki protects his whole body so that not even Law's power can hope to cut him. Law then proves Doflamingo wrong by cutting a haki-armored Virgo in half, along with the sad chamber and the mountain it was built in. Law then states that Whitebeard only ended the last era, and that the Marines never challenged any of the big-name pirates recently because they were preparing a new battle force, and that the war at Marineford was really just a prelude to something else. Law continues by saying that, like Doflamingo had said, a new unstoppable wave always marks the beginning of a new era of great ones, and that he had broken the gears of the cycle so no one, not even Doflamingo, can turn them back. After Law cuts the entire laboratory in half, it slams back down again. The giant children are scared at first, but Sanji and Nami convince them to keep running. The G5 Marines soon spot Zoro approaching carrying Tashigi while she demands he put her down. On seeing the Marines, she realizes he has gone the wrong way. Sanji is furious that Zoro picked her up, while Nami tries to make him turn back. Meanwhile, Chopper's medical room starts to collapse due to Law's attack, and the G5 medics carry both him and Mocha away while he continues to monitor her condition. In the sad production room, Virgo has been completely dismembered by Law, and his body parts are attached to a railing. He calls Law's plan a messed up attempt at revenge, and taunts Law, saying that he will regret it, and cannot replace Don Quixote Flamingo with power alone. He then asks Smoker to agree with him, but Smoker remains silent, while Law cuts Virgo's head in half one last time, and states that Virgo does not need to worry about him but his own self, since the room will soon be completely destroyed, before leaving. Meanwhile, Caesar Clown realizes his plan is falling apart and becomes increasingly enraged. He orders his men in the secret room to open the air vents, letting Shinokuni flood the room, and when they argue that there are over 100 men under Caesar's command left in the room that will be killed, he snaps at them, referring to them as guinea pigs and scum, and that since nobody cares, he can keep killing and replacing them as many times as he wants. His remaining minions are shocked into silence by this, to the extent that the ones previously fighting Usopp outright ignore him while he steps back to hide. Caesar's puzzled reaction to their shock convinces some of his men that he is bluffing and did not actually intend to hurt them, and believing it to be a complex strategy, open the vents as ordered. As the gas fills the room, Caesar sucks it into himself and begins to grow huge before taking on a more demonic form. Gloating about his newfound might, he promptly murders all of his men remaining in the room as a show of strength, enraging Luffy. He then states that some peaceful countries have expressed an interest in his genocide weapons, and that he plans on supplying everyone, ultimately becoming the ruler of a war-torn land of the dead. Luffy appears to flee, telling Momonosuke to protect Brownbeard. In the secret room, Caesar's remaining forces are horrified by his casual murder of their allies, and realize he truly does not care about them. Usopp then interrupts, asking if he can use the control panel to help his friends and allies escape. Caesar's subordinates point out that Luffy has abandoned him, watching him run down the corridor on the monitors. Usopp counters that Luffy would find things easier if he did, but that was not in his nature. As he speaks, Luffy, still enraged, stops and turns around to face Caesar again. As Usopp continues to talk about Luffy's positive characteristics, his captain continues by blowing air into both his arms, expanding both of them to activate Gear 3. He then begins to charge back down the corridor towards Caesar, both his arms stretching out behind him. Usopp states that Caesar is the type of person Luffy hates the most, and that Luffy won't forgive him. Luffy infuses haki into both of his stretched arms and jumps towards Caesar, preparing to use a Gear 3 attack, while stating that he does not want to see Caesar's face anymore. Luffy is getting ready to hit Caesar Clown with an all-out attack. Caesar is begging for mercy, even offering Luffy a job in his organization. Luffy hits Caesar square in the stomach with Gomu Gomu no Grizzly Magnum, knocking him through the gate to the R66 corridor and into the darkness beyond. Throughout the New World, brokers are watching with mixed reactions. One calls it a joke. Another gets mad at Caesar. Tamago decides it would be a good idea to inform Big Mom about what transpired. Another broker declares that Joker is going to make his move. One broker tells someone to inform someone named Jack, while the person he is talking to states things are going to get bad. Another broker points out that there's an alliance and orders someone to report to the New World, saying it is not just an issue for the underworld anymore. Killer simply watches pensively. On the second floor of Building B, Chopper and the G5 medical squad are carrying Mocha. Usopp talks to him over the intercom. He tells Chopper to take the stairs on his right and to close the gates to Building R. Brook runs after Chopper, carrying a person encased in Shinokuni. Brook cries that Kinemon was hit by the gas and died. He explains they were checking the testing rooms for any children left in them, and a girl told Kinemon that his son turned into a dragon. Kinemon ran back in an effort to find his son, thinking he had cut him earlier, and fell victim to the gas. Meanwhile, Usopp disposes of a group of Caesar's subordinates. Nami runs into Building R and is happy to see Luffy. She asks if Brownbeard is okay, and Luffy says he is before quickly correcting himself. Momonosuke is relieved to see that the children are safe, and Luffy smiles, saying he told him his friends would pull through. Sanji, Zoro, Nico Robin, and the children with them are following close behind Nami. Robin and Zoro are worried that Chopper won't make it to the building in time. Everyone is now convening in Building R. Smoker asks Law if he needs something. Law tells him that that is a rail car used to haul sad. Everyone needs to get on it to escape. Luffy is happy to see Law, and the Marines are overjoyed to see Smoker. Law asks where Caesar is, and Luffy points down the dark corridor. Law gets angry, saying the plan was to kidnap him. Luffy tells him about his total indifference, which bothers Law even more. Earlier, off the coast of Punk Hazard, Baby 5 and Buffalo are headed to the island. Baby 5 vows to kill Joker when she returns, along with the rest of the town for what he did to her fiancé. She goes on to say that this is the 8th time Doflamingo has killed the man she loved, destroying 8 towns in the process. She wonders why he wants her to be miserable. Buffalo, the giant man she is riding on, says it is Doflamingo's way of being protective like a big brother. He goes on to say that she needs to learn to say no more often. She has a flashback to a sloppy-looking man giving her a flower, calling it love at first sight, and asking her to marry him. Baby 5 tells Buffalo that no one can say no to a marriage proposal. Buffalo tells her she gets attached too easily, citing the fact that she reads 50 different newspapers, is too quick to give out money, and is just as quick to spend it. He asks her how much debt she is in. Baby 5 responds that she only owes Belai Small 98 million and tells Buffalo to drop the issue. Instead, Buffalo asks to borrow another Belly Small 2 million. He tells her he wants to go to the casino when they return. Baby 5 tells him he can have it as soon as they finish the mission. As she says this, Punk Hazard appears below them. Baby 5 wonders if the gas will go away if she fires one of her weapons. Buffalo tells her to jump off and that he will take care of it. She does so, and he uses his rotating abilities to act as a fan and dispel the gas, calling it Squall Matasaburo. Dispelling the gas uncovers the tanker ship, and they decide to wait there for Monate, Caesar, and Virgo when all of a sudden, the tanker explodes. At first, they thought it blew up, but then they realize something hit it. They are even more surprised when that something turned out to be Caesar Clown. Buffalo calls Doflamingo to report it. Doflamingo is surprised at first, but then smiles. He orders Buffalo to recover Caesar and return to Dressrosa immediately. Buffalo wonders about Monet and Virgo, but Baby 5 tells him Joker must have his reasons. Doflamingo is laughing under his breath, saying that with Caesar again in his custody, he can continue to make sad. While going to collect Caesar, Baby 5 sees someone on the deck of the tanker. Buffalo tells her anyone surviving the gas was an impossibility. To their surprise, the robotic Iron Pirate General Frankie emerges from the rubble instead and looks curiously at the bird heading toward him. Baby 5 mistakes the General Frankie for a pacifista. As Baby 5 and Buffalo approach the robot, Frankie fires bullets at them. Baby 5 replies by using her machine gun. The shooting creates a cloud around the General Frankie that leads Baby 5 into believing that the robot was destroyed. However, when the dust cloud fades, the robot is revealed to be perfectly unharmed. Because of that, she has no choice but to use the powers of her devil fruit. She first turns into a knife, but is easily matched by Frankie's sword. Later, she turned into a missile, which hits and damages the General Frankie in the rear part of the sad tanker. The fate of the General Frankie remains unknown from then on. Meanwhile, in a point near the sad tanker, Caesar gains consciousness and grabs out what he believes to be Smoker's heart and prepares to stab it. The Straw Hats and everybody else are waiting for the rest of their crewmates. While they are waiting, the crew notices that the gate starts to close. It is because the Shinokuni is just about a few hundred meters from Gate R66. The Straw Hats are asked to board the transport cart, but Luffy replies that they won't board the cart unless Chopper and Brook come in. Finally, Chopper and Brook show up running away from the gas. Brook, along with Kinemon's petrified body, comes in first, followed by Chopper, Mocha, and the G5 medical team. The Straw Hats were happy to reunite with them once again. Meanwhile, Usopp was given several sea stone handcuffs by Caesar's henchmen, though he only needed one. Everybody climbs on the transport cart to escape the building and find Frankie to complete the crew. Doflamingo in Dressrosa calls Virgo for his final message. Doflamingo thanks Virgo for his service in the Don Quixote pirates. Meanwhile, Monet calls Doflamingo for one last time. She is asked by her captain to activate a self-destruct button in the building, similar to the one that destroyed the other two labs around 4 years ago. After Monet's call from Doflamingo, she made an artificial snowfall to clear her mind from distractions while executing the order. The episode ends with Monet pressing the island's self-destruct button that causes a huge explosion in the mountain base. After Baby Five's attack, Frankie Shogun is seen lying on the deck surrounded by flames. Baby Five reforms through her ability after her Missile Girl attack. Buffalo asks if she needs some weapons he picked up, although comments how she is already a weapon herself. Baby Five says that they are blessed but the weapons were bought because she felt needed, due to her personality. Frankie Shogun punches her from behind but she jumps out of the way and transforms into a revolver. Frank takes the full blast but laughs it off, condescendingly saying that it would not work. On the tanker, Caesar realizes that Baby Five and Buffalo are there to save him while still holding Smoker's heart. Caesar then prepares to kill Smoker, using a sharp object to pierce his heart. He laughs and says die. Smoker is shown to be perfectly fine while Monet collapses with blood flowing out of her mouth. On the cart, the children urge it to move forward. Smoker asks Law why Caesar thought he had Smoker's heart. Law has a flashback to the moment when Caesar outlines the bonds of their contract. Law must give his heart and Caesar would give Monet's heart to him. After fighting Smoker, Law had 2 hearts in his hands, Smoker's and Monet's. Unknown to Caesar, Law had returned Monet's heart. He explains this to Smoker, saying that Caesar simply misunderstood and Law kindly gave back the heart of the secretary, Monet. He underlines this action with his belief that those who do good will get good things in return. Law then calmly asks if anyone can produce wind as there would be gas in the air when they exit. The Marines are surprised, claiming that no one has such an ability. However, Nami tells them that she can, leaving the Marines even more surprised. Someone else shouts that the exit is coming up. Doflamingo sees that he can no longer contact Monet though the Denden Mushi connection is still active. He then confirms with Buffalo that Punk Hazard has not been blown up according to plan. Enraged, he changes into his feather coat, opens a window, and leaps out. On Dressrosa, a young girl is seen looking for Doflamingo. She asks an old man about his whereabouts, who replies that he should be on the 4th floor. The girl says that he was not, and the window was wide open. The old man seems calm but dark as he states that he has no idea and that he went alone again. Somewhere over the sea, Doflamingo is running in midair. He is talking to Baby Five and Buffalo, who are telling him that they are having a problem with a metal guard. Doflamingo seems uninterested, telling them to finish it off and noting that there was no big explosion. Doflamingo then states that he is coming to Punk Hazard. Buffalo is surprised by how strong the Frankie Shogun is. He then charges at Frankie, saying that no one has ever been able to dodge the next attack. Using his powers, he spins Baby Five on one of his chains, who in turn uses Sickle Girl, and then slams her into Frankie Shogun's left arm, impaling it. Frankie laughs and says he will give them credit, but only for breaking through the robot's armor, and compares the pair to a praying mantis taking on a warship. He then grabs Baby Five and yanks on the chain, causing Buffalo to lose his balance and hurl forward. He then declares that the Gaon Cannon has set foot on land and shoots them with Frankie Shogun's most powerful attack, General Cannon. As Buffalo and Baby Five are reeling from the attack, they wonder why someone like this would try to impede them taking Caesar. Frankie then looks down from the tanker and sees Caesar lying there and wonders how the scientist got there. Buffalo stands up, declaring that he is not going down that easily, saying that such a defeat would drag Joker's name through the mud. Baby Five then declares that they will be taking Caesar with them, no matter what it takes. Frankie then asks them if he is correct in concluding that they want Caesar. Back in R66, the exit is in sight. Usopp begs Nami to conjure up some wind, so they will not die. Everyone cheers as they exit. Frankie is happy to see that everyone made it out. Baby Five and Buffalo are seen surprised by their sudden arrival. Luffy, Usopp, Chopper, and the rest of the boys in the cart are very excited to see the robot, while Nami, Robin, Tashigi, and the rest of the girls are visibly unimpressed. Ah is surprised to see Buffalo and Baby Five, who asks him if he is really going to defy Joker, who has been saving the heart seat for him. Luffy asks if those two are Law's friends, and Law tells him no. Realizing their sudden disadvantage, Buffalo and Baby Five grab Caesar and start to fly away. Usopp tells everyone to leave the escaping pair to him. Law is about to use his powers and tries to argue, but Luffy cuts him off, telling him that Usopp has things under control, and Zoro tells him not to underestimate Usopp. Law argues, saying that if they get away, the plan will be ruined. Nami cuts him off again, saying that if they are going to have an alliance, then Law needs to trust them more, adding that she needs to do a little fighting after doing nothing but running. Usopp and Nami then declare that they will take care of the faraway enemies with their backs turned, and Zoro tells them to hurry up. Usopp then orders his Bakken grass to grow into his Kuro Kabuto, which then starts eating the nearby rubble and twisted metal. Buffalo tells Baby 5 to watch the rear, since he cannot while flying. While Baby 5 vows to defend them with her life, a giant weather egg, called Lightning Chan by Nami, flies over them and releases a huge storm cloud. Baby 5 looks at the cloud worriedly while Nami declares they will not get away. She then attacks them with Thunder Breed tempo, landing a direct hit. As they start falling, Buffalo calls to Baby 5 and realizes she is unconscious. Usopp then attacks them with Killer Shooting Star Rush, shooting several pieces of stone from the rubble at them. Caesar tells Buffalo that since he cannot move, he must protect him, and Buffalo declares that he will complete a mission for the Donquikochi family as they are pelted with rubble. As the two go down, Caesar manages to stay airborne as the shots pass through him. He then decides he will go to Dressrosa by himself. Usopp tells him that escaping is useless, since the last shot was sea-stone handcuffs. The cuffs catch Caesar around the neck. Everyone cheers as Usopp proudly declares that he will fight anyone whose back is turned. As the three fall into the ocean, Law declares the first step of his plan is complete, and Luffy asks Law what he thought about his crew's abilities. Somewhere on the sea, a shadowy figure has overslept and is wondering how to get to Punk Hazard. The Marines draw a line to separate themselves from the pirates, saying they could have the tanker, but warning them not to cross the line. Smoker asks the soldiers why they went that far, since the order was just not to mingle with them. The soldier responds that they must be thorough, while another makes an exception for the medical squad. Smoker tells them that he got through to the G5 base, and a ship is on its way. Luffy is talking with Brownbeard, who has opted to turn himself in since the Marines would cure him of the poisons and other chemicals Caesar Clown put into his body. Luffy says it is too bad, since they had just become friends. The Marines yell at Luffy for crossing the line they made, and Luffy tells them they just made up that rule while next to him. Meanwhile, Sanji and Brook are laying bricks for a barbecue pit. Brownbeard goes on to say that he no longer has any comrades and that being in jail is better than being Caesar's guinea pig. Just then, Chopper shouts accuses Law to be a murderer. Frankie tells him to stop, almost dropping the mast he is lifting. He then continues to help the Marines repair the tanker's damaged mast. He adds that they should have told him that the tanker was important so he could have moved his fight from earlier away from it and not have to repair it like he is now. Chopper tells Luffy to stop him, continuing to yell about a murderer, saying he means Law. Brook is also shouting, much to the annoyance of Luffy and Sanji. Brook tells them that he broke Kin Emon, feeling remorse despite the samurai already being dead. Kin Emon's shell begins to crack, revealing the samurai inside. Luffy, Sanji, and Brook all scream at him in shock, and Kin Emon screams right back at them. Sanji kicks him angrily, asking how he could possibly be alive. When Brook calls Sanji's actions uncalled for, the chef responds that the samurai deserved for not being dead like he was supposed to be. Father and son are reunited at last, with Momonosuke jumping into his father's arms. Luffy is somewhat surprised to see the boy, and not the dragon he had come to know. For whatever reason, Momonosuke is missing his clothes, but is soon given an outfit much like his father's as well as a proper introduction as a child from Wano country. Shortly after their reunion, Momonosuke faints, apparently from starvation. Chopper is yelling for Law to come outside, demanding to know what he was doing with the children in the infirmary. Law tells him to mind his own business, as he is now finished with taking them to pieces. This answer frightens Chopper to no end, and he runs into the infirmary, with Law adding that he had to methodically treat them for all the chemicals they were exposed to. Inside the infirmary, Chopper is met with enthusiastic greetings from all the children. They tell him that the man in the fluffy hat Law took all of the drugs and chemicals from their bodies and they are all completely cured. They said that being in pieces was cool but scary. The only one who has not woken up yet at Mocha. As the facts start falling into place, the children realize their master was a bad person and that Mocha was partly responsible for saving them. One child says his memory of the events is still fuzzy, but that Mocha collapsed after coughing up blood. Another child asks if Mocha will be all right. Chopper reassures her that Mocha will be fine and everyone will be going home. They then ask to see Nami, calling her the Orange Lady, remembering her initial promise to save them. Just as they say this, a woman comes through the doorway. It is revealed to be Tashigi, and she tells the children that they are now under the protection and supervision of the Marines, much to their disappointment. They also ask to see the robot Frankie and Rubberman Luffy. Outside, Usopp is catching a whiff of what Sanji is cooking and is looking forward to eating. He then turns to Nami and asks her if she was the one who asked the Marines to take care of the children. She tells him yes. As a pirate, she says that saving people is not her strong suit. Usopp agrees, saying they would just get charged with kidnapping anyway. Nami agrees, remembering Tashigi tearfully asking her to leave the children in her care, and adds that she is terrible at dealing with female Marines, as Tashigi is seen trying to write down the names of several disgruntled children. Nami goes on to say that she can't deal with female Marines because she feels too safe around them, since they remind her of her mother, Usopp remembering that her mother was a Marine. She adds that being looked after by a strong Marine woman is the best thing for them, and Usopp agrees. Nami calls him a pushover and Usopp says she is one to talk. Sanji has just finished preparing a huge pot of sea pork stew, one of the 99 recipes of Nukama Kenpo. He pours a bowl and serves it to Momonosuke, having heard that the boy had not eaten in days. Sanji advises him to start slowly eating the stew, which is just one of the many dishes presented to him. However, Momonosuke's samurai pride gets the better of him, and he declares that he is not hungry. He is about to throw away the stew when Sanji grabs him by the collar, saying he will not forgive anyone who wastes food, even a child. They are interrupted by Kin Iman, who has started eating, visibly in awe by how good the food is. He tells Momonosuke it is safe to eat and to not be shy about it, saying the person who made it can be completely trusted and there is nothing to worry about. Momonosuke starts eating, tears pouring down his face as he does so. Luffy thinks the food tastes so good that it made Momonosuke cry, but Sanji tells him it is because of something else, and wonders what happened. Everyone, Marines, former henchmen, children, and Straw Hat pirates alike, is now lined up to receive some of Sanji's cooking. Sanji asks what happened to the whole dividing line idea, and the soldiers tell him it is a ceasefire. Hearing this, Zoro asks a Marine to get some alcohol from the tanker, with a child asking for juice, and the soldier happily obliges. Aw tells Luffy that they need to leave now, since someone could easily attack them if they mess around the way they are. Luffy tells him he understands and then shouts time to party, much to Law's confusion. Everyone enjoys themselves at the party. Luffy and Brook eat with the samurai, and are joined by some children. Chopper is in tears now that Mocha woke up, and Robin is nearby having soup with one of the children. The children entertain themselves by talking with Nami. Some soldiers approach Smoker and tell him they are going back in the island. When Smoker asks why, they tell him they got Caesar to tell them Shinokuni's weakness, and that their comrades can still be saved. Caesar, with pliers on his cheeks and tears in his eyes, is asking why Smoker is still alive. Further back from the festivities, Smoker and Law are talking. Smoker admits he never thought Law would keep his end of the deal, as Law could have killed him on several occasions but did not. He also comments on his plan to take advantage of the Straw Hats and start something with one of the 4 emperors. Law replies he wonders who the person really being taken advantage of is, and has a flashback to the conversation with Luffy. He is telling Luffy that they will be going after Kaido. Luffy tells him it does not matter the order as long as Shanks isn't first, since he is going to bring them all down eventually. After the feast, the Straw Hats are about to set sail and leave. While they are seeing the children off, the G5 Marines start insulting them, and they put up a barricade so the children cannot see them. The children are crying and are sad as they remember how the Straw Hats helped, and they want to say goodbye. The Marines continue to insult them and say that pirates are evil and the Marines are justice. The children keep on crying until Tashigi reprimands her subordinates, telling them to stop insulting the pirates, but they say that if they stop they will start to like them, and then they start crying as well. Tashigi starts to laugh. Law and the Straw Hats start to head to the Thousand Sunny, and Zoro asks why Law is going with them, and Usopp tells him that Luffy got them into more trouble. Doflamingo is seen flying, but notes that the Sky Road has ended. He sees the life raft from his tanker, with Baby 5 and Buffalo's severed heads on it, and a Den Mushi that resembles Law. Law tells him that they have Caesar and says that since he cannot produce Smile anymore, his business partner Kaido will get angry and Doflamingo will be killed. Doflamingo tries to negotiate with Law, but Law says that there is only one thing he can do: resign from being a Shichibukai. Law says that if it is not in the paper by tomorrow morning he will not give back Caesar, then hangs up. Doflamingo seethes with rage and curses Law. Back on Punk Hazard, Caesar Clown's former minions go in a search for those who were petrified by Shinokuni. All of a sudden, Doflamingo appears from the sky and throws Baby 5 and Buffalo's heads back onto their body. Before any of the G5 soldiers could attack, Doflamingo uses Conqueror's Haki and knocks out a very large majority of them. Even then, the remaining soldier couldn't control themselves because of his devil fruit powers. Doflamingo even has some of the G5 soldiers kill each other, demanding the whereabouts of Law. Smoker steps into the fight, launching White Blow at Doflamingo. As the fight progressed, some G5 soldiers decide to aid Smoker. Doflamingo moves to confront the soldiers, but his attack hits Smoker instead, as he defended the soldiers by being a shield to them and was severely injured. Back on the Sunny, Luffy asks why are they going to Dressrosa. Law states he has business to attend to. All of a sudden, the sea currents start to shift at an angle as they slide down a sea slope. After they get out of rough water, Luffy explains to the crew about the alliance and the plan to kill Kaido. Back to Punk Hazard, Doflamingo is right about to unleash the final blow onto Smoker. Then, Kuzan appears and asks Doflamingo to step aside as he is his friend. In spite of Kuzan's presence, Doflamingo attempts to kill Smoker, but is frozen by Kuzan's high Nomai ability. However, he manages to break free as the ice hadn't reached his heart. Seeing nothing to gain from fighting Kuzan, Doflamingo decides to take his leave, but not before questioning Kuzan what he stands for due to rumors he had heard. Kuzan does not answer him and yells for a medic. Doflamingo collects Baby 5 and Buffalo and departs. Only then does Kuzan states that he never fully trusted the world government and believes that he can make a difference outside the Marines, hence why he is not enlisted in the Marines anymore. Smoker inquires about how he knew of Punk Hazard as one of the world government's top secrets, worrying that Kuzan is involved with the criminal underworld. The G5 Marines, who were eavesdropping on the conversation, are yelled at by Kuzan, who asks them to clear off, now that they have treated Smoker. He then informs Smoker that he is doing nothing of the sort. He also warns Smoker to tell Sakazuki to keep an eye on Doflamingo as he poses the biggest threat to the Marines for now. Even though Doflamingo's presence is not as obvious as the Kuja pirates, his prowess as a pirate is quite exceptional. He tells Smoker to ask the fleet admiral to dispatch the admirals as soon as possible. He also asks the G5 Marines not to reveal his presence there, to which they oblige. Out on the sea, the crew is taking a breather. Usopp and Chopper worry furiously about Doflamingo coming to attack them. Kin Iman nearly gets into a duel with Zoro, thinking he had robbed Raima's grave due to him having his sword, the Shusui, on him. Momonosuke is revealed to be taking a bath with Robin, much to the envious anger of Sanji, Brook, and Kin Iman. When they confront Momonosuke over it, Nami punches all three for their supposed bullying. On being saved, he addresses Nami as a fair princess, which prompts Nami to hug him, much to the anger of the three perverts. Momonosuke rubs his face onto Nami's breasts on purpose, while grinning wickedly at the three. As the night goes on, most of the crew Luffy, Zoro, Brook, Nami, Robin, Law, and Momonosuke sleep, while others Usopp, Chopper, Frankie, Sanji, and Kin Iman stay up looking after the Sunny. Meanwhile, a mysterious individual in the sea watches the ship with the intent to steal Caesar Clown.
L is for lovers who love one another. A is for ass, of which I like to eat. U is for you're the only one for me. G